Hey everyone, Ace of Clay here, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'll be teaching you how to make this guy, this creepy alien aquatic creature sketchbook cover. So, if you want to see how I did it, then keep on watching. So basically, I woke up this morning and I had another idea for a video that I wanted to do, but instead decided to go with this one, and I kind of just make it up as I go. So bear with me. It actually turned out to be a pretty cool video, so hope you guys think so too. I go through all the steps, like how I made the eyeball, which glows in the dark, by the way. You'll see that a little bit later. And how I paint it, how I attach it to the sketchbook, and all that good stuff. So let's get into the video. Alright, now the first step is to create the eyeball, and to do that I'm using a 40mm cabochon, which is gigantic. And then now I'm painting the pupil on using a piece of scrap clay and a ball stylus so that it's perfectly round. And now I'm using another piece of scrap clay to anchor the cabochon to my workspace so that it doesn't move around when I'm painting the rest of it. And then this is also on top of a sheet of paper so that I can move the paper around and not touch the eyeball. Now I'm using a different kind of painting method that I've never done before, but basically I'm putting a liberal amount of metallic paint around the edges and then blowing it with a straw like this to create some interesting designs and shapes or whatever. It's really unpredictable, and this is the first time I've ever done it, but I'm pretty happy with how it turns out. And now, after getting this nice even sheet of clay from my pasta maker, I am trimming it to fit the sketchbook cover perfectly, and definitely taking into account the spine so that the book can still open and close easily without the design getting in the way. Just trimming everything really nice and as perfectly as possible. Now that that's done, I'm just polishing the eyeball to get any paint that may have dripped around the front. And now it's time to make it glow in the dark. And to do that, if you've watched my other owl video, you know how to do this, but I'm just using some glow in the dark Sculpey 3 and adding it to the back of my cabochon so that now when it glows in the dark, the glow-in-the-dark clay will show through all of the clear areas, and the paint that's on it will block it off so that it has this cool texture and effect in the dark. And you'll see that at the end of the video. I'm just making sure that clay is the perfect size for the cabochon, and then I am adding it to my base. And then to incorporate the eyeball with the rest of the sculpture, I'm just creating this nice little rope around the edges that I will blend into the back so that it's kind of like the alien's eyeball popping out. Everything's connected. Looks really cool. And I'm just blending in that edge really well. And then I'm bringing it up a little bit higher with another rope or snake, whatever you want to call it. Blending that in as well. This is kind of creating a very short eyelid. Now it's time to start some tentacles, because what would an alien be without tentacles? I don't know. Don't come for me if you like aliens without tentacles. I'm just blending that one in here, and that was basically just rolling out a snake and making sure that the end tapers. And I'm blending the larger end in with the eyeball part, and then positioning out the rest of the tentacle. Pressing it down so that it sticks, and then I'm using my thumb and forefinger to make it come to a point at the top so that it's not just like a round tube. There's actually a little bit more dimension to it. Now it's time for some more tentacles, and I repeat this process over and over and over again until I am completely satisfied. This isn't my first creepy sketchbook cover, in case you were wondering. I have done a couple before in the past, but I've always been about the tentacles. Like, I do so much tentacle art, it's not even funny. My whole online shop is filled with tentacle switch plates, and people seem to really like them, so I keep them up, and they're fun to make. And I don't know why I really got started on the octopus thing. I think it's because when I was in an art gallery a few years ago when I first started Ace of Clay, somebody told me that octopuses were really popular, and so I kind of just took that statement and ran with it. So I'm definitely in my comfort zone here making this sketchbook cover. Alright, now for this part, this is actually something that I end up getting rid of later in the video because I don't like it, but I'm just using my ball stylus to create this weird like honeycomb type texture. And now I'm texturizing the tentacles a little bit. And I keep the tentacles like this, but I get rid of that honeycomb texture and I do something else that you'll see there. This actually went a lot faster than I thought it was going to. And honestly, I think the whole sketchbook cover probably took me from start to finish, including all the sculpting and all the painting, probably like hour and a half, so it wasn't too bad. Like I said, I've done so many tentacle things in the past like this. I could have done this with my eyes closed, to be honest with you. Alright, now I'm just using that little dental tool there. You can see I kind of put some wrinkles, and now I'm more texture with the ball stylus, and then this is where I get rid of that texture that I don't like. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I totally just made this up as I went. I didn't plan ahead or anything, so there are a couple adjustments that I make here. And now I'm just making these weird little pimple things that were actually a lot of fun to make. They were as fun to make as they are to watch me make. I'm just adding those randomly everywhere. Super easy, super quick, super effective. And then I'm kind of like pushing down one side of them after they're done. Gives it this more, I don't know, creepy, realistic, jiggly type look. I don't know. Yeah, we're just adding a bunch of those, enhancing the creep factor. I'm pretty happy with it. And then I cut it out of the video, but I ended up trying to do like a skin texture around everything, but I didn't like that either. So now you can see I'm just going all in with my ball stylus, creating this rough kind of orange peel type look texture here. And I think that looks the best. Now actually looking back, I really wish I would have done a cat eye instead of a normal pupil, and it really bothers me that I did that, but I can't go back now. Even if I wanted to, I'd have to stick the whole book in the oven to bake it when I do the repairs, so not gonna do that. We'll just leave it like this, and then the next one we'll do a cat eye. Alright, it's ready to bake. Now keep in mind when you bake this, make sure your surface that you're baking it on is completely flat, so you don't get any warping or discrepancies when you go to glue this onto your sketchbook cover, because if you do, it's not going to be level, and then it's going to break really easily because you're going to get it caught on something. So just keep that in mind. And if you can't tell already, I am painting the entire thing black because I want to go with a metallic finish and color scheme for everything, and metallic colors look the best over black, at least the ones that I use do. And speaking of those, I'm using these color shift ones from FolkArt, which are actually really freaking cool. They actually shift colors. They're a little on the pricey side, but they're totally worth it. Now just for the base color here, I'm using this gold purple color shift color. I really like it. It's a nice neutral for everything, and then I'm just kind of adding it around the eyeball here. But now I'm going in with the really cool purple color shift color and painting all the tentacles with it and the little pimple things. And I think that color looks absolutely amazing in person. I don't know if the video is really doing it justice, but it really shifts from blue to purple. So freaking cool. I'm just doing all the tentacles with it. Oh, and before I forget, the reason why I painted this black instead of using black clay is because the black clay that I use, the Primo, is so smooth when it's baked. It's almost like smooth to a fault, where the metallic paints don't really like sticking to it, whereas the nice matte surface that a black acrylic paint creates is a lot easier for the metallic paints to adhere to. So that's really why I do that. And I like sculpting with Super Sculpey more than I like sculpting with Primo. And that's a conversation for another time. Now, as you can see here, I'm just adding some red towards the center of the eyeball just to create another dimension of color. And I really like how that turned out. I'm glad I didn't overdo the red because that could have easily ruined it. Some of you may think that it did look better without the red. I like the red, but the red is also a color shifting color too. It goes from like purple to red, I think. And you can't really tell in the video, but there she is. All right, now after that's completely dry, I'm just going in with some regular matte black acrylic paint and shading all of the edges. And I like doing this because it makes it look more dimensional. I know I say that all the time, but it's the truth. It gives it another layer of detail and it makes it look more thoughtfully painted, and I really like the effect that it creates. So I do that in a lot of my works. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Want to see the eyeball? There you go. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I think it does, at least. Not too shabby. Now once that's completely dry, it's time to glue it to the sketchbook cover. I have some E6000 industrial adhesive and a glue brush. And I'm pretty sure you can get this at any craft store, at least to my knowledge. Just keep in mind, don't breathe it in. It does give off fumes. There's a ton of warnings on the label, so just be careful when you're using it. But you'll know if you are familiar with it that it has a very, very strong bond. And it's a great glue to use for something like this. It's going to be handled a lot, just like I would use it for phone covers as well. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And I'm just going crazy with it on the sketchbook cover, and you can see that I have the logo for the company that I got the sketchbook from on the front, so that my design will cover it and it won't say Pro Art whatever in the back. And now I'm just gently placing it on, being sure to line it up correctly, gently pressing so I don't crack it. I've made one sketchbook before where I pressed too hard and I cracked the whole thing after working on it for a pretty long time, and that was really depressing because I couldn't fix the crack. Now I'm just making sure that all the edges are completely flush with the sketchbook, and then pressing some more. I don't show it, but I put little like food chip bag clips around the edges of it so that it holds it together. You can also use rubber bands, so just keep that in mind. Don't just leave it like this, because the glue will expand and it will raise the clay off the cover, and that's not good because then you'll have a gap, and then like I said, that gap's gonna get caught on stuff when you're walking back to your room to write in your journal or draw pictures. You're gonna crack it off, so just remember that. And like I mentioned before, this also has a lot to do with how you bake it. Just make sure you bake it on a surface that's completely flat. I use a glass Pyrex dish for that. But other than that, it's done. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. That's a wrap, everyone. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. I read every single one of them and I try to respond to every single one of them. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to my channel, then follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Ace of Clay, and I will see you in the next one. Actually, I'll see you next year. Bet you never heard that one before. Thanks for watching.